Thanks for listening and subscribing to DIY for Business. It's Russ and Greg with you. Greg, how is it going?
It's going well. I needed to dance to kind of work off a little
Oh,
Thanksgiving meal and extra calories I put on. So yes, I
oh,
had a little
yeah.
extra bounce to my step today.
Well, I was listening to our show because, that's what I do when,
You
it's
better.
Thanksgiving, right? I mean, come on.
You're the one. No, I'm
We
joking.
did the whole, talking about I'm going to do everything outdoor. It didn't
Yes.
quite work out. I didn't do everything outdoor, but I did most everything outdoor. And the turkey came out fantastic. That was like a challenge, mainly because I had to get up so darn early. So
Well, what time did you start smoking this turkey?
I put it in the smoker at 8, which means washing it, prepping it, doing the whole deal at like, I don't know, 6:30. I think I woke up.
So did you brine
Yeah,
it in the whole bit?
I didn't do that just because I realized I'm going to have to do that the night before. And I kind of, realized that a little too. So I just went for it, and I was a little nervous, but it came out fantastic. And now I want to do another one. And I have to do another one because we find out. So my mom has COVID, so she couldn't come, which
Right.
means my brother canceled his trip out. So now we're doing Thanksgiving part 2 coming soon here. So
Oh, well, that's
it's
fun.
turned out to be a good rehearsal for me. So I didn't do everything outdoor, but we're gonna do that the next time around here, and maybe it's better since I guess COVID's floating around a little bit more
It's
now. I don't know.
it's so insane to me that 3 years later, COVID is still affecting our holidays.
Isn't
Oh,
it
yes.
though? Isn't it
Yes.
though? By the way, the voice you're hearing is our guest. Hey, Iris, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me. I just wanted to work my way in there because
Well,
yes, our Thanksgiving was also affected by by COVID.
It
We
was.
we
What
yes,
happened there?
we missed a whole family. So I was visiting my husband's cousin, or so I guess my cousins-in-law, and his family. Oh gosh, it's so hard to explain the family dynamics, but my cousin-in-laws, the family of my, oh my gosh, one of the families couldn't come because they had COVID.
It's funny what you're talking about. I did the whole ancestry.com. I was playing around with that because I got some free offer, like to, extend the thing. I'm like, okay, I'll go play with the family tree. Looking through the family tree, it is so confusing. So I was going through exactly what you were going through this last weekend of, okay, wait, this is my cousin. What? Like, okay, this is crazy. So I feel like now next, like when we gather the whole family together, I'm just going to bring my iPad with ancestry.com. That way I can figure out who's who. I think that's going to
well,
be
it's
easier.
funny because at our get together, we were all talking about our 23 and me's. And
Oh
trying to
yeah.
figure out,
Yeah.
like, yeah, what nationality, the mixes, back generations, and that was a big topic of conversation at our Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, that'll be my Christmas conversation because I just did the order. There was a Black Friday deal, so I did the order. So we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out. That'll be fun. It's like such cool tech, right? Like that whole thing of like now, like I'm putting my DNA on the internet, and it's telling me like what my makeup is. It's so weird. I was frightened by that technology at first a little bit. I'm like, do I really want to put my DNA online? Right? Okay, I guess so. I guess that's whatever.
Well, there is
I
that
put everything
fear
else right.
because I did my daughter, and I just because my background is kind of got confused over time because I did my 23 and me. So we said, okay, we're going to do my daughter. And I had that same fear slightly. It's like, is it safe putting, my daughter's DNA kind of out there? And, you hear all these conspiracy theories on, oh, well, they have that. They can frame you for murder and all these crazy
Right.
stories, right?
Yeah,
And like,
exactly.
is it really safe and secure for the kids? Which is perfect topic.
Oh my God, Greg, that is an amazing segue. Have you been working on your
Masterful.
for Thanksgiving?
Oh, I've been learning from you. You are the number one segue guy. So I'm picking up some of your tricks.
All right. Well, I just screwed up your segue here. I guess your segue was to move over to Toekenz and learn about what you guys do. Iris, so tell us about Toekenz.
Yep, that's what I'm here to talk about. So, again, Iris Ichishita. I am the co-founder and CEO of Toekenz Collectibles, the company behind Toekenz. And Toekenz is the first family-focused and child-safe platform. for blockchain-based games and communities. We also have a kid-safe marketplace with digital collectibles. And we're super proud to announce recent partnerships. We have partnered with global toy icon Mattel, my former employer, actually, and as well as global entertainment company Boat Rocker. And then just this past Tuesday, we announced our partnership, our launch partnership with Pinkfong and their amazing brand, Baby Shark. And if you've got kids, I know you know that song.
Yep. That is like one of the most stickiest songs ever as far. Well, it's the most played song ever, but it's also like, it so sticks in. It's the most played in my head. We'll just say it that way as well, because, oh my God, there was like a 2-year period of just over and over and over again of that song just playing in my head. And I have older kids, but still they were into it. Like everybody played that thing. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And no, it reached a level of social consciousness, I think, unlike any other song, right? Where it became a part of like our social fabric, and it was just so easily adaptable for whatever situation you needed it for. I think I heard it in Ted Lasso.
Yeah. When will the technology be there when, as a songwriter, you get paid for when it plays in somebody's head?
Yeah, right.
Every time it plays in Russ's head, you get a play, you get a listen.
I think that's web.
We got to figure out that technology.
I think that's Web 4, Greg. We're gonna hear about that. Yeah.
That's when Shazam connects to our brains.
Right. That would be a scary one. Okay. So, Toekenz. So you guys are using a podcast to promote your business, which I think is, I mean, Greg and I love that. That's we've talked a lot about, because we think that it's a great way to do it. So tell us a little about how you're doing that and how you're using the podcast to promote this business.
That's right. Yeah. The Toekenz podcast, a part of this amazing network. And we are so proud to be a part of it and to be a part of Electricast. And the Toekenz podcast, which I co-host with Jeff Allen, whom I've known for years and years. We actually co-hosted a news magazine ages ago. And this is our second opportunity to promote something that we really believe in. Yeah. And so the Toekenz podcast is a video podcast available, basically wherever people get podcasts. And it is the masterpiece of content that we feed into this machine that Jeff Allen calls the content vortex. And it basically takes like one masterpiece, Gary Vee and some other people have really championed this idea that you have one masterpiece of content and then you're able to slice it and dice it and be able to use it on all social media platforms or distribution platforms to really promote and get the word out about your business. So we take the video podcast, we put the video where videos are seen, we create clips and small audio bites from the audio portion, and we're able to basically just spread the message. But the idea behind the Toekenz podcast in general is that we can inform our audience of the crypto curious and those who want to dip their toes in the Web3 waters, while also promoting how we're doing it uniquely at Toekenz.
Well, that's what I want to learn a little bit more about. You do have a unique way of promoting the whole technology on Toekenz for, in a family way, right? For parents and children to kind of share together and learn about crypto. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I love that you talk about the learning aspect of it, right? Because we believe really strongly that the best way to learn is to do. So we have approached Toekenz, creating Toekenz in a way that people can engage in a very hands-on manner. There are lots of ways for children to engage in digital worlds or even Web 2 or 2.5 worlds with in-app currency and in-app or specific closed economies, right? We are doing it in such a way that you're dealing with real money, because when you're talking about financial literacy, digital financial literacy, the best way to learn is to do it with assets and with currency with real value, right? So we do it with multiple cryptocurrencies that we support on the Toekenz platform, so kids and families can start engaging with real world assets with real world value. And we also do it in a way that it just makes it very accessible. We provide non-custodial wallets to our users. We allow them to charge them with credit and debit cards. We allow them to engage with our extremely user-friendly user interface so that they can begin which is very intuitive. So they can just begin playing, right? The idea is that families and especially kids can start building up their first collection, the first NFT collection that they will have and carry with them throughout their entire digital identity in the metaverse. And maybe it's even the collection that they one day say, oh, this is the one that I'm going to pass on to my kids one day. These are my first NFTs, just like my first baseball cards or my first sticker collection.
Right.
These are the first ones that I had when I was a child, and now I'm passing them on to you.
Is the I don't know if it's more difficult or if it's easier now. Like this whole FTX thing that just happened. I mean, I put $100 just to try something else. I don't know. I downloaded that app like a year ago. Yeah, I'll put $100 in here, see what happens, right? And what happened was there's nothing in there now. So things like that, is that like hurting your industry, or is it helping you to raise funds because you're doing something a little bit different? Like how did that impact you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the impact is widespread, and I think everybody in this industry, feels it. But in some ways, it's the growing pains of any new emergent technology, right? This is what is going to bring in the additional regulation that's necessary to make this safe for the average consumer. And we embrace regulation with Toekenz. We've taken a cue from the playbook of one of our sister companies, Digital Prime Technologies. That's a FINRA regulated broker dealer. And they embrace regulation just like we do here, because we think it's important, right? There are amazing aspects of this technology. Blockchain is definitely not going away, even despite spectacular failures like FTX. But this will really provide the industry with the opportunity to receive some regulation that's important, but also to put additional safeguards in place to really prepare the industry for mass adoption, which is definitely where it's tipping. And, it's in addition to the collapse, we've talked a lot about the crypto winter and how the way cryptocurrency has gone recently. And we've been doing at Toekenz exactly what we need to be doing at that time, which is building. And we're building what we think is going to be the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. We gotta talk about some of these technologies, because we've, there's the metaverse, the NFT, blockchain, Web3. What are all of these? How do we, I feel like if we know a little bit more about them, maybe we're a little more likely to let our kids play around with them. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the technology behind Toekenz and some of these crazy terms that we're hearing now that we may or may not be familiar with. We'll learn about that when we come back with more DIY for Business. Thanks for listening and subscribing to DIY for Business, a part of the Best Business Network and Electrocast Media, as is the Toekenz podcast over there on the Best Business Network. You've got great podcasts over there, so please do go to electrocast.com, check it out. Not only are there business podcasts, there's sports podcasts, there's all kinds of cool stuff over there. I just found a new one on the sports that just came over to Electrocast called Missing the Point. That one was pretty cool too. Yes. So there's a lot of podcasts over there for you to go check out at electrocast.com. So please do so. Okay. So we're talking about some of this crazy technology. I'm calling it crazy because, oh man, I feel like I know some of it. And then I get to a point, it's like, okay, well, wait, no, maybe I don't know this. So let's talk some of these terms. NFT, blockchain, Web3, like what are these? Like what are we doing here? Like, what is happening to us? I was so happy with Web 2. What's going on with Web 3 and
a brave new world out there?
Exactly. Like what is the difference between what we're experiencing now and this near future?
Sure. Yeah, happy to talk about it. Although I'll disclaim and say that I am a non-technical CEO and I have a creative background, right? I'm a filmmaker. I was creating original content for Hallmark and for Mattel, and I'm a producer by trade, right? So I'm a very creative CEO, and there are those who could talk technologically far better than me. But I think that I have a unique perspective because I am building a product for a mom and a Gen Z, millennial, exennial. No, sorry, Gen X, millennial, or exennial mom, woman like myself, right? I'm building tokens for a person like me. I entered into the Web3 space just over a year ago myself, and I'm still understanding the gravity of this amazing kind of precipice that we're on technologically. But I can definitely talk about it from a tokens perspective, right? So Web3 refers to the evolution of interconnectedness, right? How we've gone from the beginnings of the internet or the intranet with Web 1 to Web 2 as we know it. And now we're entering into this primarily potentially decentralized space of Web 3. And so that kind of describes the overall environment. And then one of the key features of Web3, of course, is blockchain. So blockchain is the immutable ledger. It's the decentralized storage for record keeping of all digital transactions. And the blockchain is really what I believe will change every aspect of how we transact in a digital world in the future. Blockchain, if it hasn't already revolutionized or disrupted one area of industry, will. And so blockchain is the underlying technology that allows digital collectibles, or NFTs as some call them, to be traced and to be authenticated as belonging to someone, right? It's not just a JPEG or a video or a GIF. It's something that you can actually own, like a piece of art, and it can be registered on the blockchain. So what Toekenz does is we're multi-chain. We have a number of what we call EVM compatible layer 2 chains that we support. And those are the underlying chains that allow our digital collectibles to be registered. And then what was the other question? Oh yeah, NFTs. And the digital collectibles themselves are the NFTs. And let's see, does that cover all the terms? Web3, blockchain, NFT?
I think you hit them all. Good job.
You hit them all. Yeah.
And all of these different, the last thing I'll say is that all of these different enterprises like Toekenz collectively make the metaverse, and which will become much more interconnected. But at this very early stage, all of these different aspects create one metaverse that will be hopefully more interoperable and more transferable in the future.
Okay, without getting too, and you said non-technical CEO, so I won't get overboard here. But with the NFTs, like let's say, okay, let's go with this. If you're working with Mattel, so if I buy the NFT for Barbie, do I own Barbie? Like, where's the IP? Like, how does all of that work? Like, IP versus the NFT. Where are we there? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. You don't own Barbie, that's for sure.
Shoot,
Only Mattel
I really
owns
to.
Barbie.
Okay.
But you can have a non-commercial personal use limited license of your Barbie NFT or any of the other Mattel NFTs that Toekenz might create, so that you can say that you have enough ownership that you can lawfully transfer this digital asset to someone else and potentially even gain a profit from that transfer. So you do have the right to deal in the secondary market with the NFTs that you own. There are some projects that have CCO, which is a Creative Commons license, where you do own a piece of or the IP itself. But with Toekenz, because we are a licensed play and because we have these incredible brand partners with their incredible licenses, the licenses that are transferred to the end user are pretty limited.
Gotcha.
It's more about your NFT as access to that brand's community, right? You not only you own a limited use license of the NFT, but now you're part of that Barbie community.
Right.
So that's a perfect segue, Iris. Thank you. You're learning from me that learning from Russ how to do the segue, because my question is, so back in the day, I had a baseball card business where we would the goal was you buy a baseball card, you go to the shows, or you find somebody that wants to buy it for higher than what you bought it for. If you luck out and you get it in a pack of baseball cards and it's a valuable card, then you're going to make a good amount of money. But it was all done in person, right? We handed the guy the card. They could look at it. Is it a pristine shape? Is it not? All of that type of stuff. Now with NFTs, and you've said this in digital collectibles, you're part of a community. How does a child or a young person that's using tokens actually do a trade? And how does the parent oversee the trade so that they're not, making silly trades, for example? I don't know. So, I mean, I've seen adults make silly trades. So,
Well,
I guess, we shouldn't say that. But
my son one time traded 3 Pokemon cards for this other kid's like entire like collection of Pokemons. I was like, okay, that's a pretty good trade. I felt proud and yet disappointed all at the same time. So how do you prevent stuff like that?
Yeah. How does it work in tokens?
Yes, I was a baseball card collector myself. And I don't remember my dad being particularly involved, but we definitely have parental involvement with collection and trading on tokens. So I'll walk you through the use case. Basically, you see your Baby Shark NFT and you want to buy one, or you play a Baby Shark NFT based blockchain based game, and then you're able to win or collect an NFT from that engagement. Regardless, the NFT is now in your digital wallet, and we call it your collection. So your collection can be available to whether publicly or to friends that you specify through your profile and your preferences. And so you can share with each other, okay, this is what I have in my collection. This is what you have in your collection. It's like your trophy case. It's where you get to show off your collection. And then you might decide, though I love my ping pong NFT or my Baby Shark NFT, I want to sell it. And I think I'm ready to do that. So you can go into our Toekenz marketplace, and it's on the Toekenz X profile, which you'll understand once the app is available and you can start playing around with it. But in the Toekenz X marketplace, you can list your NFT, and it's a guided experience. So we have different both front end and behind the scenes guardrails in place to make sure that you're making responsible decisions. So on the surface, you can see what you purchased it for. You can see what it's going for currently on the market. You can see different users who have favorited similar NFTs so that you can understand what the demand might be for it. But ultimately, you as the child user get to decide the terms of your sale. And then depending on the preferences that your parents set, the parent can you can either submit that sale for approval, or you can enter in a PIN to show and to prove that you have the ability to make ability and permission to make transactions on your own, or you might be able to just purchase it outright. It's all about a parent's preference in how closely they want to monitor the transactions and the activity of the child user. And then you can complete that sale. And, regardless of whether or not you turn a profit, you obviously have the joy of the ownership and the experience of engaging in a real metaverse marketplace.
Okay, so I think we got this. Now, what I want to know is how do we, for the business owners listening, what lessons can they do? Can they do NFTs? Can they do, what is this going to have on their businesses? I'd like to figure that out a little bit. And let's talk about that when we come back. Thanks for listening, subscribing, and reviewing. I haven't said reviewing yet this episode, so make sure you do that. Reviewing DIY for Business, a part of the Best Business Network and Electricast. It is Russ and Greg with you. We've been talking about the Toekenz podcast, also a part of the Best Business Network, and the business that they're doing over there. And we're talking about NFT, blockchain, like all of these new technologies. How, we've got an entrepreneur listening, what can they do with this? How can this help their business? How can this change? Either are they changing their website? Like, what are they doing? Are they changing? Are they all of a sudden accepting Bitcoin? Like, how does this impact an entrepreneur that's listening to this podcast?
That's a great question. And it's really changed over the last year plus that I've been developing the Toekenz business. Um, when I first started with Toekenz, I was a big part of pitching to potential brand partners and licensors was educating, right? Educating them on what it is that what value Toekenz brings to these new technologies and to their target audiences of kids and families. And now, even just a year later, it's not about if you need a Web3 strategy, it's what's your Web3 strategy. Because all of these legacy businesses understand that they need to have a Web3 strategy, and they need to promote their well, especially when it comes to toys and consumer products and collectibles, they need to have a digital version they need to have a digital aspect to their portfolio. And so I think that I definitely encourage businesses and entrepreneurs to get involved by just trying it out, launch a project, but above all, provide utility and benefit with your NFT collections. So whether you launch a project on Toekenz, because we certainly have ways for different businesses, especially if they're family facing and family friendly, to have and launch projects on the Toekenz marketplace, but whether it's on OpenSea or some of the other marketplaces, to try it out, to launch a project, to create collectibles that have value, whether it's through utility like access to specific in real life events, live events, digital events, whether it's the ability to be a part of community or to provide discounts or different exclusive access to consumer product. We really believe in Toekenz in this thing that we call the phygital bridge, right? Where you connect the digital and the physical digital and physical worlds in this phygital space, this very unique digital and physical space, where we because we're dealing with licensors that have incredible consumer product programs, the idea that you could purchase an NFT and have a physical twin to that digital collectible is a really exciting opportunity and experience for the end user.
That is so cool. And it's interesting because we're talking to our entrepreneurs right now. And as you started the business a year ago, it started more as an education, right? When you're talking to people, you're trying to tell them and teach them. Over the past year and a half, what are some of the shifts and the windy road that you had to take as an entrepreneur to get to the point that you're at now?
Yeah, definitely. Well, this is my first startup. And as mentioned before, I'm a non-technical CEO, and it's been a huge learning curve to understand about these new technologies. And as I also mentioned, I'm in so many ways, I think that the fact that I'm new-ish helps me to create user interface and user experience that would be accessible just to a person like me, right? Who's entering into the space for the first time. And also being a mom of 2 little girls, I understand what my concerns would be and what kind of digital experiences I want to create for my kids, right? We know that screen time is not going away, but can the screen time that our kids do have be edifying, educational, and also help them prepare for their future? I'm not sure if I answered your question though, Greg.
Well, I'm just curious, what advice would you give to an entrepreneur to, pivot and shift and move with, as you learn, for you, the technology's changed too and is advancing. Like, what would you say to entrepreneurs out there to help them through and get their product released?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've definitely learned that all successful founders and CEOs, entrepreneurs, and people who are working in startups, right? You have to be flexible and you have to pivot. And I think one of the unique aspects of working in Web3 is how quickly the space is changing. And you think, Greg, it was you that mentioned, or maybe Russ, sorry, that you were consulting with the business, or that you had done a podcast episode on these new emerging technologies, and that company doesn't even exist anymore.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And companies come and go. This is just like they did in the Web 2 boom, right?
Yeah.
So the space is changing really fast, and I think you need to be agile and really search for that right product market fit. And then, but there are also some really tried and true aspects of the kid and family industry that I think need to be incorporated more into businesses like we're doing at Toekenz, right? We are taking a very heavily regulated industry, kids and family, and taking those privacy practices and data protection practices and putting them into play in a Web3 space.
Well, I think it's really cool what you're doing and how you're applying the technology. And I like, and we didn't, like, I don't even know if this was said, but I like that this is also educating kids about this, because it's educating the next generation about, like, they're going to understand it so much more than we are, right out of the gate, because of the fine work that you're doing over there.
This in school, in elementary school, and middle school, not wait till college for these types of classes. So the fact that you're helping kids learn and parents to kind of monitor this learning, I think is just a wonderful idea. And I'm so happy you're putting this together.
Thanks. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The digital natives, Generation Alpha, they are so technologically advantaged. They're so digitally skilled, and yet they are the demo that has the least safe access to Web3.
Right.
So because they're so digitally skilled, they want to start experimenting. They want to start playing around, but we want them to do that in a safe space where parents can have total visibility and control of their kid users' experience. So, it's crazy to think, like, it's really no coincidence that Gen Alpha started the year that the iPad was introduced, right? These kids have grown up with the iPad, and they're so skilled. And there are digital, the school system, definitely, I do want to applaud the efforts in the school system. There's lots of digital citizenship courses. I think my kids have like an after school digital literacy program, but at Toekenz, we are trying to take it a step further, right? Not only are we preparing the next digital citizens, but we're also preparing them for digital financial literacy and even democratic decision making. So something I haven't even talked about is the Toekenz DAO, where kids can actually start making democratic decisions on how the Toekenz DAO treasury is used. It's really crazy, cool, advanced stuff for kids.
That's really cool. And so to get more information about it, the website Toekenz, and it's spelled a little differently, so make sure that everybody knows how to spell it.
Yep, Toekenz, Toekenz.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Toekenz NFT or Twitter at Toekenz, Toekenz. We've got a ton of great information out there on our website. You can also add your email address to be added to our wait list. When this is publicly and widely available, the app is, we'll let you know so that you can start playing around in this brave new world.
And listen to the podcast.
That's right.
It's
and the
fantastic.
And the Toekenz podcast right here on the Better Business Network for Electricast. So happy to have this as our home. So happy to be able to bring hopefully what is a new aspect of business, entrepreneurship, and startup culture to what you're bringing to your fans.
Yeah, it's great. And it's available on electricast.com. You can go check it out there, along with all the other podcasts on the Best Business Network. Hey, thank you for listening and subscribing. And as I mentioned earlier, reviewing DIY for Business, a part of the Best Business Network and Electricast Media. The subjects that we cover on this podcast are selected with the goal of helping your business grow. All of the information provided is opinion-based, and you might want to consult a professional to discuss your exact business situation. Greg and I want your company to succeed, and we are happy to take your questions. We would also love to hear your suggestions for future episodes. Yes, season 3 is in the works right now. That's coming out in January. Don't worry, we got a couple more episodes this year though, so be sure to check those out. Best way to do that is to subscribe. Yes, wherever you are right now, there's some sort of button that says subscribe. You hit that. It might be a plus. Who knows? Whatever it is, hit it. We are DIY for Business, where you are not alone.
Welcome to Abracadabra, Create What You Speak, the podcast that combines spirituality with creativity. Here, guests from around the world share their stories and insights on navigating life's challenges through art, music, and creative expression. Connect to yourself, others, and the world through empowering conversations viewed through a spiritual lens. I'm Ilan Azulay, your host, a spiritual mentor, and a sound therapist.
Electricast.
If, like me, you love music and movies, you'll love our podcast, Sync Love. I'm your host, Kurt DeBeek. I meet with top music supervisors and experts to learn what film scores inspired their careers. From Wes Anderson to Sofia Coppola, Quentin Tarantino to Spike Lee, great directors have called on a host of musical talent to bring their visions to life. We talk about the challenges and triumphs that changed their lives. Join us for movies and music on Sync Love, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Electricast. Electricast.